have you worked for the Jersey City Fire Department?
31 years.
31 years, okay. What is your current rank or title?
I'm a captain.
And where is your specific firehouse located?
On 20 Avenue, right on the west side of the
Now, Captain, I'd like to direct your attention to Saturday, July the 28th of 2018, where you were on duty that day.
Yes.
And what if anything, did you do, well, let me say it this way. Did there come a time where you and other firemen were in Lincoln Park on that day?
Yes.
And why was that?
We were doing a community interaction, fire safety, like, you know, we had like a political table set up, we were handing out plastic helmets, toy fire helmets, coloring books, fire safety, just had an interaction with the public.
Okay. And you mentioned coloring books, plastic helmets. Does that mean that there were children in the park that day?
Yes.
And were you interacting with members of the public, adults, children?
Yes.
Where did you set up within the park?
We set up right as you come into the park on Belmont Avenue, right before the fountain on the right-hand side.
Now, for the purposes of the record, I'm showing the defense counsel what has been marked as S13 for identification. May I approach the witness with the same?
Yes.
Captain, I'm now showing you what has been marked S13 for the purposes of identification. Do you recognize that?
Yes.
And what do you recognize it to be?
The beginning part of Lincoln Park, this is Belmont Avenue, and that's the main water fountain circle. We were set up like in a circle.
Now, does this photograph fairly and accurately depict the area of Lincoln Park where you were set up on that day?
Yes.
Your Honor, at this time, I would ask that S13 be moved into evidence, and I seek permission to publish the same. No objection.
In evidence without objection, you may publish.
Now that S13 is being published for the benefit of the jurors, Captain, can you please tell us where within that photograph you and the other firefighters were set up on that day? You can, if you'd like. Counsel, were you able to see it?
Yeah, I was, thank you.
Indicating the area in front of the stop sign?
Right by the stop sign.
Thank you.
Now, did there come a point in time while you were set up at that table that something caught your attention?
Yes.
What was it?
The hollering and yelling.
I'm sorry.
Just keep your voice up, Captain.
Hollering and yelling.
When you say hollering and yelling, where was that hollering and yelling coming from, in which direction?
We were facing south, across Belmont.
Okay, so I'm standing over by the photograph.
Yes.
You were facing south. Would that mean in this direction?
Across the road, across Belmont.
So across this, across there. Okay. The hollering and the yelling, where was that coming from?
Over my right, behind my right shoulder. In that direction, yes.
And I'm pointing to the right-hand side of the video screen on the photograph. So the hollering and the yelling was coming from this direction.
Yes.
What did you do when you heard the hollering or the yelling?
Turned around to see, what was going on.
And when you turned around, what did you observe?
Two men facing off, close to each other.
When you say two men facing off close to each other, what do you mean?
Squaring off like they were getting ready to fight, or something was gonna happen. Physically.
What else did you see when they were squared up yelling at each other?
There was an individual wearing a tank top, like a white tank top, and there was a smaller person with him. That was on one side, and the other side was an individual. Not too much detail of that, but I did notice that, and they were squaring off yelling, and it looked like something was about to happen.
At any point while they were squared off, did you see an individual reach for their waistband?
Yes.
What did he do? What did you see that person do?
I've seen that person reach in this area, come up like this, and fire a shot.
Now, before he fired the shot, did you hear anything?
Yes.
What did you hear?
Get the F back. Get the F back. Get the F back.
How long did he have the weapon pointed before the shot?
It was pretty quick. Seconds.
Seconds?
4 or 5 seconds.
How loud was the shot?
It was loud.
Were there people in the immediate area of the park when that shot went off?
Yes.
What did they do when that shot was fired?
Started to disperse.
What did you do when you heard that shot?
It took a couple of seconds to realize what just happened, that it was a shot, and that my concern was for the safety of my men at that time and the people in the area. I told my guys to get behind the apparatus, the engine company that we were driving that day. Then I immediately radioed my dispatch that shots were fired. I gave my location. And then just try to get people who were in my area to get away from the area.
Why was that?
And the people that were not my men, but people that were, involved.
Were you concerned for their safety?
Yeah.
You reported the incident?
Yes.
The guy that pointed the gun and shot the gun. Did you ever hear him state that he was a police officer?
No.
Did you have any idea that he was a police officer?
No.
Did you find out that he was a police officer after the fact?
Yes.
How close were you to where this took place?
80 yards. 60, 80 yards.
So in terms of a football field,
Yeah.
almost?
That's an occasional bite, yeah. Not quite the length of the football.
For the purposes of the record, I'm showing defense counsel what has been marked S31 for the purposes of identification. I'm approaching the witness with the same. Captain, you just testified that you're approximately between 60 and 80 yards away from where this incident was unfolding. I'm going to show you it has been marked S31 for the purposes of identification. And I'm going to ask you if you recognize this. And what do you recognize it to be?
But my evidence, what I found was
And does this map fairly and accurately depict the area of Lincoln Park as it was on that day?
yes.
All right, Your Honor, at this point, I would ask that S31 be removed into evidence, and then I would request permission to publish the same.
Objection.
In evidence of objection.
Opposed. Thank you. Captain, I'm going to put it up now so that the jury can see the map. All right. If you don't mind, I'm going to ask you to take the red marker. And indicate where on the map that you were set up. Okay? And that if you can, indicate where you heard the incident unfold and saw it. Is that in the general area? Yes. So as you stated, the incident was behind you, right?
Yes.
After the gunshot went off, what, if anything, did you notice the guy with the gun?
He stayed in the area. It looked like he was making a phone call.
Were you there when responding officers arrived?
Yes.
Who was the first officer on the scene?
It was a white sheriff's officer car.
The guy that was shot at, did you see any altercation with him and the police? The arriving officers?
No.
No further questions.
Cross.
Good morning, Captain. Just a few questions. So you said you were approximately 60 to 80 yards away from what you just testified to? Okay, just this map here, I just want to, you see where there's a little pin that says Kensington entrance? Okay, so there was, you were obviously, how long you been with the Jersey Fire Department? 30 months, okay. Had you ever met Cesar Celestino, who's a Jersey police officer, during your travels? Never met him before. As you look at him today, you don't recognize him, correct? Now, you're familiar with Kensington Avenue that comes to an end, right? And there's an entrance into Lincoln Park at that location, correct? And then this road that I'm looking at right here, Belmont Avenue, is a road that crosses Kennedy Boulevard and enters into the park and goes to that fountain you're talking about, correct? All right, so you were, this red mark that you put on the bottom of the diagram is just as you're, if you went straight ahead, you'd actually go into the fountain, correct? And so to your right, which would be, what direction? Terrible directions. What is that?
Little Road Road.
Yeah, what direction is that?
You're going like
North. Okay. The next road parallel would be Kensington Avenue, correct? Now, what you observed, did you observe it at the foot of Kensington Avenue, or did you observe it right here where you made the circle direct? I'm holding you to this. I know this map's probably the first time you saw it, but was it more towards where Kensington Avenue ended? You know that area, there's like a little brick wall, that kind of semicircle brick wall there? If you don't know, you don't know. You don't remember, okay. Your best recollection is that the incident that you saw occurred where you had this red circle. Oh. So, and you estimated that the location was approximately 60 to 80 yards from where you were, correct?
Yes.
Yes. All right. Now, the first thing that drew your attention to that location was yelling and screaming, hollering, you said, correct?
Right.
So, do you have any idea how long these two individuals were interacting before you started to hear the yelling and the screaming?
I don't.
No, because you were paying attention to what you were doing, correct? Is it fair to say that the only thing that you could make out clearly that was being said was, get the F back, get the F back, get the F back, correct? 3 times you heard it, and that was loud and clear, correct?
Yes.
And that was from the individual that had the firearm in his hand, correct?
Yes.
And it appeared to you he was giving an order to the other person to get back.
Yes.
Okay. The prosecutor asked you if you heard the individual that had the firearm in his hand, whether he ever identified himself as a police officer, correct?
Correct.
Okay. And you said you did not, correct?
Did not.
The only 3 things you heard were what we just said. Okay. So you don't know what had happened before that time period, before he drew his firearm, correct?
I don't.
Okay. When the prosecutor's office interviewed you, and that was back on July 28th of 2018, correct? There was 2 individuals from the prosecutor's office that interviewed you?
Yes.
Took an audio tape statement, video statement actually, correct? Asked you questions about what you saw, similar to what happened today, correct?
Yes.
They also asked you, did the individual identify himself as a police officer, correct?
Correct.
And you said, I didn't hear. Right? Did they ever ask you if you heard the other individual identify himself as an MS-13 gang member? Did they ask you?
Can you repeat that?
Sure. Did the 2 prosecutors investigators ask you in that statement whether you heard the other individual identify himself as an MS-13 gang member? Did you hear that? Okay. Could have happened, correct?
Objection, Your Honor.
Sustained.
Okay. The yelling and the screaming that you heard, you didn't decipher any words from that, correct?
Correct.
Okay. All right, so then you hear those 3 words, the 3 commands, get back, get back, get back. And then you hear the shot, correct?
Correct.
Okay. And then you said you got behind the rig at that point.
Correct.
Now, do you know what direction the shot was fired? Were you able to tell from where you are?
Well, I remember how they were standing, yes.
Okay, and how were they standing? Best you could. And that was allowed.
I'm gonna look there and show you.
Sure, if you don't mind.
The shooter was here,
Okay.
and the other guy was here.
Right. Okay. So the shooter was facing the other individual towards this direction.
Yes.
All right, and so the shot had been fired into this wooded area.
I don't know which way the shot was fired.
Okay. That was the direction he was
Yes,
in.
he was facing that way.
Okay. Now you described the shooter as wearing a white tank top, correct?
Correct.
Okay. And that was your best description in the hour and a half after the incident when you told the prosecutors that he was wearing a white tank top, correct?
Yes.
And you described the person that was shot at as wearing a red shirt, correct?
I'm not sure.
It happened quickly. Things happen, you hear a shot, all of a sudden, oh my goodness, what's going on? Jersey City, Lincoln Park, anything could be happening, correct? So your best recollection was, at the time you gave your statement, that one individual was wearing a red shirt and the other individual, the shooter, was wearing the tank top, correct?
Yes.
Could have been mistaken, you would agree? Okay. Now, you said that in response to the prosecutor's questions, that the shooter stayed in the park, correct?
Correct.
He did not leave, didn't run, correct?
Correct.
Did you see him going around trying to pick anything up or concealing anything?
I don't remember.
Okay. The other individual left, though, correct?
Yes.
And then did you see him come back?
I don't remember.
Okay, that's fine. When the individual was standing in the park, was he with another younger person? Did it appear?
Which individual?
The individual that had, you said, fired the shot, stayed in the location where the shot was fired.
In the area.
All right. Was he with another individual?
It appeared to be a small person.
Okay. Able to tell how old that individual was?
I'm sorry.
Were you able to tell how old that individual was approximately?
No.
Okay. And the person that was shot at left.
Yes.
Now, the individual that stayed in the park, in that area where we're talking about, got on the phone, correct?
Yes.
You saw him cell phone to his ear,
It
right?
appeared to be he was on a phone.
Okay. And you said in your statement that you concluded that that individual had to be a cop. You remember saying that?
I might. I don't remember.
Okay.
The only reason why I said that is because he stayed in the area. He stayed there.
Okay. So,
If he wasn't a cop, he'd be blind.
gotcha. So your belief in what happened there, and as you were piecing it all together, was that because he had stayed, you believed he had to be a police officer, correct?
Yes.
Even though you didn't hear any identifications or anything like that, correct?
Nope.
And you also heard him ordering the person to get back, get back, get back. Did that factor into why you thought he was a cop? Okay. I don't have any further questions. Thank you.